Stand up, New York Giant fans. Really excited to be back with Mike. We took last week off because there was a bye. Wasn't a whole lot to talk about, so I figured we'd take the day off. But excited to have Mike back on the channel. We got a lot to talk about. Obviously, the first half's out of the way. New York Giants 6-2 coming off the bye. We're staring Houston in the face. We got 9 challenging games left on the schedule. So, we'll recap probably the first half, just talk about, I figured obviously we always feed off the chat. You guys know that, but feed off the first half, talk about what's ahead for this football team and just currently the state of affairs with the New York Giants. But what's up, Mike?
Yeah, it was a good time for a bye week, I will say. I like when it's smack right in the middle. Sometimes you get screwed with like a week 4 bye week or a week. I think they have 14 now bye weeks. So I'm happy with 10 or 9 actually it was, but I do miss Giants football. It's been too long. It feels like it's been a month. So I'm happy to get back out there, even though I'm not playing, but be a fan on Sunday. Have a very winnable game, and I do think the Giants will actually play very well on Sunday. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, and before we get started, I saw a couple of people say it in the chat before. Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Thank you for your service. We appreciate it. So happy Veterans Day. Hopefully you guys got off work like me. If you didn't and you're at work, well, thank you for listening. And you'll be off work soon. It's already 4:03. So thank you to everybody for being here. Let's say hello to everybody. Sports Influencer in the chat. Andrew Christopher in the chat. Raphael doing in the chat. Papa Guzzo in the chat. Omega in the chat. Dylan is cool in the chat. Amazing guy. Raphael doing it, man. Thanks popping in. Omega says happy Vets Day. Amazing guy says Saquon wants Odell back. Yeah, we could talk about that real quick, briefly, before we get started. I saw that was like a story. People were adding me on Twitter about that. I mean, what do you expect Saquon Barkley to say? Saquon Barkley's like his best friend, and he got asked it in an interview. And I see a lot of Giants fans going crazy about that. I don't think that changes anything. Maybe he'll come here. I don't know. But I don't think Saquon Barkley saying he'd like him, here to be a New York Giant, and that he went to, I think, his kid's birthday or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think that changes anything in terms of my thought process with Odell Beckham. We'll see. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of suitors. He hasn't shied away from that he'd be interested in joining the New York Giants, and the Giants haven't shied away from at least having some interest in potentially bringing him in. But what's your whole thought process with the whole Beckham thing?
Well, yeah, a few weeks ago, I thought there was like no chance it would happen. But now, after seeing some of the rumors and Odell is still left unsigned and him on Twitter saying he always wants to come back to New York, I think it is more of a possibility now. I'm still not saying it's over 50%, but I do think it's possible because the Giants are 6-2. I'm sure Odell wants to go to a playoff and Super Bowl contending type team. Whether you think the Giants are Super Bowl contending or not, they should make the playoffs. I think I heard they have an 80% chance to make it. So they should, unless there's an epic collapse. So, the previous relationships, I know Shepard's out for the year, but we know Odell and Shepard very close. And Saquon Barkley, as you mentioned, a lot of guys on this roster are close. Well, not a lot, but there are some guys close on this roster with Odell Beckham. And the Giants need a guy at his position very badly. It's not like it's a position the Giants don't need. The Giants desperately need the position that Odell Beckham plays. Now, I am excited kind of to get Kenny Golladay back. Hopefully he's healthy and looks kind of good. But assuming it's the same Kenny Golladay we saw from the first month of the season when he was playing, the Giants are probably going to need somebody at wide receiver. And when Odell played last year for the Rams, he did look very good. He wasn't like a top 5 receiver like he used to be, but still top 15, top 20. So he can definitely help an NFL team. I don't know how he'll look off 2 ACL surgeries, but the last time we saw him, he was good, and he definitely would help the Giants. So I'm all for it. I think there's like a 20-25% chance it happens, but I would love to see it because I love Odell.
Yeah, I mean, I got nothing against Odell in terms of coming back to the New York Giants. We need all the help that we could get. I'd be completely open to it. For me, it would depend on the commitment. It would depend on the contract. You saw that Odell came out and said that he'd want a long commitment. He'd want a 3 or 4 year commitment. He said that, I don't know, like 2 or 3 days ago when he was on a podcast. And I get it, right? You don't want to keep moving around. You want to get some familiarity with where you're playing. But if you're Joe Shane, and obviously a lot of it would depend, I guess, on the structure of the contract and how much money it would entail. But I just find it hard to believe that the New York Giants would commit more than a very short-term commitment to a 30-year-old receiver coming off an ACL tear. Maybe I'll be wrong. So that's really the main reason why, if that's what Odell wants, if there's a team willing to give it to him, I don't think it'll be the New York Giants. I think it'll be somebody else. We'll see if he's able to get that. But I think the New York Giants will at least show some interest. We all know that they could use some wide receiver help. We know that it would be a great PR. The fans would be ultra excited about it. And that's part of the reason why I'd like to see it, because I know it would excite the fan base. And at the end of the day, I want the fan base to be happy. But I also want it to be the right move. I don't want them to give him like a 3 or 4 year commitment.
Yeah, I don't think anybody would though, to be
I
honest.
don't either,
Yeah.
especially coming off the multiple ACL surgeries. I think he's got to prove himself and prove that he could be completely healthy. But it makes sense. Like you said, the Giants are going to the playoffs. You look around the league right now, you have the Atlanta Falcons lost last night. So now they're 4-6. They were the 8th seed. So, I mean, it's looking more and more like the New York Giants may even get in if they finish 9-8.
Mhm.
So I think we're going to the playoffs. Odell Beckham could definitely be a piece that could help this team, maybe even potentially win a playoff game. We all know we need wide receiver help. So it would be a cool story to see him come back here. I'm still leaning it won't happen. Like you said, I'm definitely not over the 50% threshold. I'm
Yeah.
still around like that 10 to 15%. I know some Giants fans may not want to hear that because they want him to be here badly. If you had to pick a team right now, before I get to Steven, if you had to pick a team right now in the NFL, and we've heard some of the teams that may be rumored to be interested in him, which team do you think he ends up with?
I think Buffalo makes a lot of sense for him. That Von Miller connection, we always see them talking on social media. They have one elite receiver, one pretty good receiver, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs. Their slot guy, it's kind of non-existent. Isaiah McKenzie kind of had a down year, so they can use a third receiver. And we know the Bills, despite Josh Allen having that injury last week, are still Super Bowl favorites. So I don't know how much Odell wants to do this whole ring chasing thing and how much he just wants to settle down somewhere. But to chase a ring this year, I think Buffalo makes a lot of sense because even when he went to the Rams last year, people forget Robert Woods was still healthy. He unfortunately tore his ACL like a few days later, and they had Cooper Kupp. And Odell went there knowing he would be the third option. So I think going to Buffalo, assuming Josh Allen is going to be okay, he might miss this week, oh well, but he'll be back. I think Buffalo makes a lot of sense for Odell.
I agree. In terms of winning, I think that the Chargers could make sense. They have injuries with their wide receiver core.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it. I'm
Uh,
not saying I want it to happen, Mike.
yeah.
Dallas Cowboys.
It makes sense.
It does make
Yeah.
sense. It does make sense, right? All the eyes are on that team. They need help at the wide receiver spot. They have a pretty complete football team. He'd have an opportunity if he went there to potentially compete for a Super Bowl. I'm not saying I'm rooting for that, but it seems like the type of move that Jerry Jones would be interested in making.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it would suck. I would definitely feel different about Odell if I saw him in a Cowboys uniform. But you look at their situation, it does make sense. That guy Noah Brown has been playing well for them, so maybe it's not like the biggest need in the world. But we know Gallup is also coming off an ACL, and I don't know. The Cowboys can use some more juice, and I think Odell can definitely give them that. And I'm sure Jerry Jones would love that. For publicity.
It's such a Cowboy move. It
Is.
really is, and I don't want that to happen, but I could see it.
Definitely.
Steven, Steve, who do you think they put at punt returner when James comes back? Do you think they put him right back there? Yeah, that's a great question, Steve, as far as the punt returner question and Richie James. I don't think Richie James is going to be the punt returner. They've already, and I know he's hurt this week. I think he's going through concussion protocol, but they've already tried out like 4 other guys. I saw Dory Jackson was there today, or one of the guys that were there today. I'm going to tell you this right now, Mike. I do not want it to be Adoree Jackson. If there's one player in this team right now that we can't really afford to get hurt, he's right there. He's up there. So I would prefer it not to be him. Maybe Darius Slayton, again, probably a guy we can't afford to get hurt right now, though, with how thin we are at the wide receiver core. I forget. I heard Slayton. I heard Jackson. There were 2 other names. I can't remember off the top of my head. Brightwell, maybe.
Darnay Holmes.
Darnay Holmes. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with him.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with Darnay Holmes, but I am not a fan of putting Adoree Jackson back there fielding punts.
Yeah, I know we're very thin at wide receiver, but I think just for the potential upside and him being possibly good at this, I think Wan'Dale Robinson wouldn't be the worst idea. Because I don't know if he did it in college, though. Do you remember? I think he did some kickoff returns, but I forget if he was a punt returner in college. But he's a guy.
I don't remember.
He's a guy that definitely has that explosiveness and the shiftiness to be a good punt returner, has good vision. So I could see it working, but the Giants may not want to stick a guy back there who's actually going to be very important to this offense. So I'm not counting on that. I do think it will be Darnay Holmes if I had to guess right now, but I think Wan'Dale Robinson has the chance to be better at it, but you don't want to risk him getting hurt.
Yeah, I would lean Darnay Holmes if I had to pick a guy, and because I think we could replace him. Whether it be Cordell Flott when he gets back or whoever. I do not want to lose Adoree Jackson to fielding a punt. I'd worry about that. But what I'd be telling all the punt returners this week for the Giants, just call for a fair catch.
Yeah.
Just call for unless you have like 10 feet of greenery, 10 yards of greenery, 15 yards, nobody near you. Obviously, then you got to try to return it, but just call for a fair catch. That's the
Mhm.
last thing that I want us to lose in a football game after last week when Richie James put the ball on the ground twice. So,
Yeah.
we'll see. But that's a great question. I don't know what they're going to do with that. I don't think Richie James will be the punt returner, though, for the rest of the season because he fumbled before the last game, too. He's got 3 fumbles on the year fielding punts.
Yeah.
I think you got to replace him. I think you got to bring in somebody else, and I expect Dable to do so.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if they'll sign a guy just for the purposes of punt returning, but I do think Holmes can do it. I don't know if Darnell Holmes is like good at it, but we know he can do it. I don't remember him making any big mistakes as a punt returner, but yeah, I don't think they can put Richie James back there right now because of how last game versus Seattle went, and I just think there's just way too much pressure on him right now, and they can't really trust him. So I think it will be somebody different, and probably will be Darnell Holmes.
Could be Pimpleton, too. I saw somebody say that in the chat. I just don't know if he'd get bumped up to the roster because
Yeah.
we're I don't know if they would use a roster spot on Pimpleton just to field punts. But I do think they'll be making a change permanently. I don't expect Richie James to be the punt returner going forward. Let's talk about 2 weeks ago now,
Mhm.
the game against the Seattle Seahawks, which we've all tried to get out of our mind. Giants, of course, dropped it 27-13. Went to Seattle, harsh environment. I think we all knew it was going to be a tough game going in. I thought we'd win, but of course, I wasn't going to be surprised if we lost, especially after you heard that their wide receivers were going to play in that contest,
Yeah.
which they were kind of questionable leading up into it. But what's your overall mindset from that game? And does your mindset change for the season after it? Because, Mike, I saw a lot of Giants fans on Twitter after that game, a lot of Giants fans on my channel, a lot of Giants fans in my stream throwing their hands up in the air. The Giants are figured out. This is not good. We're in trouble. Has your vision for the Giants for this year changed at all off that game?
No, not really at all, honestly. I try to look at the big picture, and you're a 6-2 team at the halfway point, basically. This is a team that was supposed to have 6 or 7 wins the entire year. To have that halfway through the year, you got to look at the entire thing and say, hey, we're in a great spot right now. That was a game. It was weird. You had, the muff punts, and I did think the Giants would win, especially after that fumble by Tyler Lockett on his own 2-yard line. I was like, that is the break the Giants need right there. They scored 2 plays later on that Saquon touchdown, but it just seemed like after that, they couldn't get anything going offensively. I do have some concerns about the offense, but if they open things up more, I'm going to feel better about them because it seems like in games where Saquon Barkley is figured out, he was, 20 carries for 53 yards, did score the touchdown. When the Giants aren't running the ball very effectively, they're going to have some problems offensively. So they have to open up the offense more. And sometimes teams do that after a bye week. And I'm hoping that the Giants will do that this upcoming game versus the Texans. This is a great opportunity. Your favorites in this game. The Texans have been really bad defensively, especially versus the run. But I do want to see the Giants open up their offense more because in games like this, for instance, when the other team scores 27 points, you're going to need more firepower offensively. And you can't rely on Saquon Barkley to have 7 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns every game. It's just not going to happen. So I don't think Jones was bad in that Seattle game, but they have to do more in trying to open up the offense for him.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I don't know if this week will be the week where they really open it up because of the opponent we're going against, and we'll talk more about that throughout the stream in terms of what their weakness is on defense, but I agree. They're going to have to open up this offense, and it's why Kenny Golladay for me is a major X factor for the rest of the year. We really need him to step up. If not him, Darius Slayton needs to get even better than he's been. Wan'Dale Robinson. We need some production out of this wide receiver core because, like you said, you can't continue to run the ball 40 times and not have any semblance of a passing game and expect to win once you start facing some of the better teams on our schedule, that being the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Vikings. So that's certainly going to be a challenge. And like you, I'm hoping they open up this offense over the second half. But circling back to that game, a lot of people, like I said, they felt like coming out of that game, we were figured out. We've been figured out since the start of the year, Mike. Teams know they're not stupid.
Yeah, they know. Yeah,
they know we have no weapons at the wide receiver position. They know that Saquon Barkley is our only true weapon. It's just that Seattle did a good job, a better job than I thought they would in terms of shutting down the run. And they did a good job in terms of defending against the bootleg. But my opinion hasn't changed. The Giants were in that game. I said it after. I was like, this is just like the Titans game. The Titans game, we got the ball down 7 with about 5 or 6 minutes to go, and we scored a touchdown. Well, Richie James fumbled. We didn't have that opportunity. But the Giants kept themselves in that game in a harsh environment with a lot of injuries, and they found a way to compete throughout it. In the end, they weren't able to get the win like they were several other weeks, but it begs the question, can they continue to play this style of football and win? Because we only have a plus 6 point differential. It's hard to win games week to week playing in the way in which the New York Giants are. You have to be so you can't turn the football over. You can't. You have to be so good with the football. You can't beat yourself. If you do, you're not going to win. Like you said, if we don't have a high-powered offense, you're not going to be able to put up W's.
Yeah. When you're a conservative offense, there is really no margin for error. Like a team that likes to run the ball and just like basically just run the clock out like the Giants will try to do when they're like favorites in games or like just close in games. If you make any type of mistake, an interception, a fumble, that's kind of it for you. Like, unless you're really going out there trying to put up 30 points every game. I mean, some offenses can turn the ball. Like, I think the Bengals had 5 interceptions in week 1. They still, actually, no, they went to overtime. They almost won that game. But my point is, if you're opening up your offense more and giving yourself more chances for big plays and more scoring opportunities, you can afford a turnover or two. But a team like the Giants, who they don't pass for over 200 yards very often, they don't really, do much the explosive play route, especially passing the ball. You can't really afford these fumbles and things like that. Like if this was the 2011 Giants, when you had Eli airing it out to Manningham, Nix, and Cruz, the Giants would have very big plays with those guys. They can afford a lost fumble or a pick or something like that. But in a situation like this, where you're just pretty much trying to keep pace and then put them away in the fourth quarter, you really can't afford those turnovers. And I don't think it'll happen very often because 2 fumbles on punt returns are kind of a fluke. And hopefully taking Richie James out will take care of that. But as you've said, I think the Giants need to do a bit more offensively to keep up in these type of games. Seattle is a good team. The Giants can beat teams like Chicago and the Panthers, like playing that type of style
Houston
of football.
this week.
Yeah. Houston, that's a great example too. I think Saquon's going to have a monster game. And you said the Giants, they may not have to air it out this week, but there will be games in the future, obviously. So there will come a time versus, Philly and the Vikings later where you're going to have to do more unless the Giants have insane turnover luck that game. So we'll see. Those games are still a while away. You have this week, which is easier, and even next week versus Detroit, which you may have to keep pace with them offensively. But we'll, worry about that when we get there. But right now, at least, they can run the ball probably 30, 35 times in this game, and they probably should win, hopefully.
Yeah, and I think that has to be the game plan this week. And I know a lot of fans, we just said it. We want to see them open it up over the second half. We want to see the coaching staff make adjustments. And yeah, you could look at the Houston Texans as a team that you could say, well, maybe you could start to open it up this week because you're not going up against the best of defense. But at the same time, their weakness is stopping the run. Your biggest strength is running the football. Why would you get away from that this week? So at the end of the day, the goal is to win week to week. And this week, I expect the New York Giants to hammer home the run. Now, maybe big play opportunities will develop off of that. They like to run a lot of the Tampa too, right? So they're going to give you opportunities in the run game. If they adjust that, well, then the New York Giants will adjust accordingly, and maybe they will open it up in terms of throwing the football. But going into this game this week, going up against this type of defense, I think you have to stay committed to the bread and butter, and that's running the football, Mike, this week against Houston. And we'll worry about Detroit next week. But what I'll say about Detroit, and a lot of people have said the Lions, we may have to put up a lot of points because they have shown this year that they're capable of scoring 30 points. But at the same time, their defense is so bad. I think if the New York Giants play their game and control the clock, that's going to limit Detroit. They're not going to be able to put up that 30 points if you don't get into a track meet. So I think the Giants will pick and choose their battles. But there's going to come a time this year, Mike, like you said, where we're going to have to start to open up this offense. And I think we will. I think we're going to make some adjustments going into the second half. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see what Jones is going to look like in the second half. Saquon Barkley is going to look like. Seems like a lot of Giants fans are kind of down in the dumps. Obviously, we'll talk about the McKinney thing as well. That's a big story. Greg, man, thank you very much, man. James fumbled during FanFest. Did he? I was at FanFest. He probably did. I can't recall. But, yeah, he cannot be returning punts anymore. Like, it's a problem. Your punt returner should not be losing your football games. It's a problem, and I think they'll make that change.
Hey, maybe they sign Odell Beckham and he's the punt returner, right? I mean, he was good when he did it with the Giants. I remember he had at least a couple returns. I think one of them was called back, but he was electric.
Yeah, he was. Definitely. And maybe they use Adoree Jackson in a limited role. Yeah. Maybe like when they really need a big punt return. Maybe but I don't want him to be the full punt returner.
Yeah.
And disaster, he said. Disaster. I don't know how you want me to pronounce it. He says, OBJ as a Cowboy would make me sick, but I could see them offering more than a 2-year deal. Please come home, OBJ. Listen, at the end of the day, and I know it's going to kill the Giants fan base if Odell Beckham signs with the Cowboys. Rightfully so, it's the Cowboys. You never want to see one of your own go to that football team, especially if he's going to help them contribute. But at the end of the day, as a Giants fan, I'll completely understand if we don't sign Beckham.
Yeah.
It's about the long-term vision. And I think we could both agree Beckham's probably not going to be a part of the long-term vision. And Joe Shane has demonstrated that this year, that he's not going to be willing to overpay for something that's only going to help the immediate future. He's worried about down the line. Now, if they could work something out that makes sense financially for the Giants and it's not overcommitting themselves to Beckham coming off 2 ACL tears, by all means, let's do it. We need the help. But I think Joe Shane will be disciplined. He's not going to just make a move to make a move.
Yeah, and Joe Shane even said in one of those interviews he did a ton, but he said this is like a 3-4 year window type thing. He's not just thinking about this year. And I don't want to say Joe Shane's kind of giving up on this year, but I do think it's more of like, let's just see what happens. Like, I don't think he's putting all of his chips into the middle of the table just for this season. He came here with the idea of like, this is a long-term thing. He's thinking 2, 3, 4 years ahead. And I like that. Like, I don't want to go all in for just this year. This year has been great, very unexpected, but I feel like just making a dumb trade at the deadline, possibly just to make your team a bit better, I don't think that would have sat right with me. We've went over trade ideas before. If they gave up like a 3rd and a 5th for Judy, I think we could have lived with that, obviously. But
I would, to be honest with you, I would have been even okay with a 2nd and a 5th for Judy. I would have been okay with it.
Yes.
I wouldn't have been ecstatic, but I would have been okay with it because I would have said, all right, young piece, you could build with him. And there were rumors on Twitter that that's what the asking price was. But listen, Mike, when I saw what the asking price was for Chase Claypool, which was an early 2nd-round pick, because at the time, at least, you had to figure Chicago was going to have an early 2nd-round pick. That's what they gave up. You got to think it was more than a late 2nd and a 5th for Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, no, I would think so. Yeah. I mean, I like Claypool, but that compensation was a bit much. I think Chicago's playing much better football. Maybe that pick ends up getting lower, or higher, whatever way you want to look at it. But yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah, so I think if it was a 2nd or 5th, Shane may have made the deal. I think it was more than that, to be honest with you, for Jeudy. And Bill, man, thank you so much, man, for all the support you always show on the channel, man. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you're enjoying your Veterans Day. Thank you to all the veterans out there. As we said at the top of the stream, you guys are the best. Thank you for the support on the channel. And thank you, like I said, to the veterans for doing what you do. Bill says, good to see you, boys. Not worried about this team at all. They already surpassed. He's talking about the Giants. First, I thought you were talking about Houston. I'm like, I don't want to get cocky, Bill. But yeah, in terms of the Giants, I'm happy where we're at. They already surpassed expectations. Chris, where are you tailgating? I'm going to be meeting up with Justin. I think it's lot L16. But I'll give you the exact specifics tomorrow. I'm going to be live with Bad Dog tomorrow night. I think I am anyway, for the Talk of Giants show. Because tonight I think he's got a Lakers game, and I'm going to be on with Patricia Train on her channel. So I will let you know tomorrow for sure. But I know it's lot L. I think it's L16. And I'm going to be getting there very early. They get there at 8 a.m. So I'm going to be getting there right around then, going with my brother. So really looking forward to it. If you're going, Bill, hopefully I get to meet you. Hopefully I get to meet a lot of you guys. But really looking forward to the game. Already got the tickets. So I'll definitely be there. And hopefully I get to see you, Bill. I'm excited about it. As far as the expectations for the team, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not at this point. Yeah, I want to make the playoffs. I want to make the playoffs at this point. So I guess I do have those expectations. Now, if they miss the playoffs, they miss the playoffs. I'm still really happy with the direction of this team. I tweeted it out. Let me see if you agree with me, Mike. Is it fair to say at this point in time for the New York Giants that we have a top 2 or 3 runner in terms of coach of the year?
Yep.
Because I would have Robert Saleh, I would have Pete Carroll probably, and I would have, obviously, Brian Daboll. I think those would be my top 3.
Yeah.
Would it be fair to say that we have 3 players at least in contention for an All-Pro award right now? That being Andrew Thomas, Saquon Barkley, Dexter Lawrence. In contention.
Yeah.
And would it be fair to say that this year, right now, Daniel Jones is at least an average starting quarterback in the NFL?
Yeah. No, I think all that's fair. Yeah.
If I would have told you that at the beginning of the year, at the bye, that all 3 of those things would have been true, would you have signed up for it?
Yeah. I think anybody would, right? I mean,
so you got to be happy right now if you're a Giants fan, and hopefully they can continue to build off of what they've been doing. But it's been a great first half. I'm really happy where we are, and I'm really happy where I think this team's headed, Bill. So I agree with what you had to say.
Yeah,
Tyler, he says, "Happy Carl Banks loves your." Yeah, I don't know if you saw that, Mike.
I didn't. What's up with this?
All right, so I woke up. I told you about the announcement I said on my channel, which I'm not changing, by the way. Anybody stepping in, this channel is going to remain exactly as it is. I was talking to Mike before the show. he's going to be involved in it potentially. But I am considering doing a all New York sports channel, but it's going to be a separate channel. I'm going to continue to pump out the same amount of content I always have on this channel. That's not going to change. I never want to change that for you guys. I know most of you guys here want basically strictly Giants content. So if I want to pursue something else, I'm going to add that to my YouTube career or whatever you want to call it. So the Giants channel is going to stay the same. But yeah, so I posted on Twitter like 3 days ago, Mike, that I had an announcement in the video. And if you're a diehard subscriber of mine, watch it. I just want to get your guys' input because I always want my subscribers' input. I want them to have a say in terms of what I put out for content. And I guess Carl Banks saw it. And I wake up the next morning. Actually, I'll show you the tweet. It was really cool. It was the coolest tweet I've ever gotten because it's Carl Banks.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the greatest players in Giants history. Like, he's a Giants Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah.
So Carl Banks tweeted me this. Let me find it right here. It is. Let me just share the screen real quick. And it's just cool to know like he watches my channel.
I mean, Carl has good taste. What can we say,
Yeah.
Are we surprised?
So this was his initial tweet. His initial tweet was off of my tweet. He retweeted it. He said, "Great episode." He spelled you with a Y-U. He later told me it was because he was tired because it was late. It was like 1 a.m. when he tweeted it. You should definitely do this, do the Daily Show when talking about like a broad New York sports show. And then I just retweeted it. But yeah, I was just blown away that Carl Banks actually watches the channel.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's all. Yeah. I didn't know.
Maybe we could get him on. I thought.
Right? Yeah. That could be your first guest right there.
Yeah, but that was awesome. That was like definitely the coolest tweet I've ever gotten. Carl's retweeted me before, but he's never, done something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Tyler, man, thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. The entertainer, let's see, let me just field a couple of these. Top 5 coach of the year candidates: Dable, Saleh, Sirianni, Carroll, and O'Connell. Yeah, Sirianni for sure. You could throw in there. O'Connell's the Vikings guy, right?
Yeah, I see Mike McDaniel too. That's
McDaniel with the Dolphins. You could throw him in there. But those would be my top 3 because at the beginning of the year, if you would have told me the Jets, and by the way, I had my first opportunity to watch the Jets this past week because obviously the Giants were on a bye in terms of watching them start to finish. The Jets are good.
Yeah,
they are not
like the old days.
Team. They're good.
It's like the Mark Sanchez days type teams,
Yeah, they have a good team. But if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Jets would be, what are they, 6-3? I think.
Yeah, it sounds right. Yeah,
6-3 with a win against the Buffalo Bills and a win. I think they beat Miami. I would have called you nuts. So I think Saleh's got to be in the conversation. If you would have told me the Giants would be 6-2 with wins over the Titans, Ravens, and Packers, I would have called you nuts before the start of the year. So obviously, and then as far as Seattle goes, same thing. I think we all thought before the start of the year they were tanking with Geno Smith at quarterback. Nobody saw this coming with Geno, or most people didn't. So that's why I think those would be my top 3: Pete Carroll, Robert Saleh, and obviously Brian Dable. But obviously Sirianni, you could throw him in there. They're undefeated, for God's sakes.
Yeah, for me, it's either Dable or Carroll. Dable or Carroll. I don't know why that was so.
So you don't
tough
put Saleh in there. Interesting.
I mean, I don't know. He's up there. Don't get me wrong, but like I think if I'm choosing right now, it's one of those 2 guys.
I think I'd pick Dable too, but I think it's very close.
Maybe we're biased, but still, I don't know.
Yeah, it's to me, it's very close. But Dable obviously deserves recognition, regardless whether he wins the award or not.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, he's off to a fantastic start. Let's see what we got. Let's see. The Vikings are 7-1 with a rookie head coach, and we're 6-2 with a rookie head coach. I mean, I get it.
And the Vikings have more talent. I mean,
the Vikings. I mean, I picked the Vikings to go to the playoffs before the year started. So it's like,
me too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's probably why I wouldn't consider him for coach of the year. I'm not gonna cry if he gets it. They're 7-1, and they're having a great year. But I thought they'd win at least 10 games before the year started. I like the Vikings, so I'm not shocked by, maybe I thought they'd be like 5-3 or 6-2, but I'm not shocked that they're having a good year.
Yeah, I think it's more emphasized because of how bad the Giants have been for the last 4 or 5 years. I think that kind of gets built into it as well. Like if the Shermer and Judge regimes weren't as horrific as they were, and the Giants were like a 6, 7, 8 win team the last few years, I don't think people would look at it the same way. It's the fact that the Giants last year were 4-13. They've had a 3-13 year and 5-11 and whatnot, 4-12. And now they're doing this with Brian Dable. So I think that just right there gives them a lot of credit because the last guy, Judge, and even Shermer were not able to do anything close to this. And it kind of makes you realize how big of a difference coaching is. And the Giants had to get rid of guys like James Bradbury and just some important pieces, and Blake Martinez, who just retired actually. But to do what he's doing with this roster, Brian Daboll, I think, has done the most impressive job so far. Obviously, Pete Carroll, you can make the argument, and same thing for Saleh. I mean, Saleh came out and said he's keeping receipts, and ever since then, the Jets have been pretty good. So it's impressive stuff.
All three of them have been great.
Yeah.
And I probably had the Packers above them, but I had the Vikings making the playoffs. I think before the year started, I probably had the Packers winning the North. But I wouldn't have been surprised if the Vikings won the North before the year started. I thought the Packers would take a little bit of a step back. But no, I think I probably had the Packers. All I can tell you, I don't think I did like divisional predictions before the year started. I remember saying in my live streams early on that I liked the Vikings as a sleeper to make the playoffs. And not even a sleeper, but I liked them. I had them making the playoffs. And my two Super Bowl teams were the Niners, preseason Niners, Bills. Those were my Super Bowl picks. And I'm sticking with it right now. I still think the Niners are the best team in the NFC, even though they've come out sluggish. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I mean, the Niners, I think, are in a great spot right now, getting McCaffrey back, not back, but like getting him with the trade and then getting Deebo Samuel back healthy. I think that team's in a great spot. So they should hopefully get on a winning streak for their sake.
Let's talk about it. Blake Martinez retired. Camel brought up. Yeah, Blake Martinez retired. There was another major story that I was about to bring up, and I forgot regarding McKinney. McKinney, we got to talk about McKinney. So what was your, Twitter, when that news dropped about Xavier McKinney, Twitter was like a loony bin. Like, people were going banana on both ends. I thought that there were people that were acting like he did zero wrong, which I thought is off base. You had people, it's like he could have got hurt stepping out of the shower. No, it's not the same thing. And then you had people that were like, oh, this guy, we got to get rid of him. We got to get rid of the captain's bet. What was your overall take on the whole McKinney situation?
When I first saw the news, it was kind of just like, ah, shit, that sucks. That's your first reaction. I wasn't mad at him though. I really wasn't. I know as a football player, as a professional athlete, where your body is the most important thing to your team and whatnot. It's look, the guy's trying to enjoy himself. I completely get where he's coming from. He's 23, 24 years old, trying to enjoy the bye week. Do you wish these guys were in bubble wrap and not doing anything for 2 weeks? Yes, but that's just not how life works. I think the way McKinney handled the interview was kind of standoffish, and I wasn't really a fan of that. But either way, I really it didn't bother me as much as other people. To want to take the captain's badge away or trade him or cut him is ridiculous. It's one of those things that happens. I've seen it compared to the Plaxico Burress thing. That's also ridiculous. It's not even close to the same thing. I just think it's kind of overblown. It really does suck, but it helps that we're playing some easier teams. Hopefully he'll be back at some point, maybe for the first Philly game. Hopefully. I've also heard, Brian Daboll has not been committed to bring him back at all this year. So it's it's concerning. Obviously, he's one of our best defensive players, but I'm not mad at the guy. Things happen. The guy's trying to enjoy his life, and it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to say he's a complete Satanist, because it is in his contract. He's not supposed to be riding on ATVs, and it is that, you do play a physical sport. It's the bye week. You could go on vacation, but you probably shouldn't be driving an ATVs in season on the bye, especially when it's in your contract. But I agree. I think there was a clear overreaction. I'm sure Daboll talked to him. I'm sure McKinney feels really upset about it. And I think McKinney seems like a smart guy to me. Now, I don't know him personally, but he seems like a good guy. I'm not going to question his character off of this. I think it's something that he'll learn from. Yeah. That's the way I take it, at least. I think it's something he'll learn from, and I don't think he'll ever do this again.
Yeah, no, if you're not learning your lesson from this, you're not going to learn at all. But I do think you're right. He's probably a smart guy. He knows he messed up, and I'm sure he feels as bad as anybody. He probably feels he let his entire team down, the coaches down, the fan base down. The guy's pissed. He's, he probably feels terrible. So it's something he'll learn from, and it's just one of those things that happens in life. It is what it is.
Yeah, and then just to touch briefly on what Camel had to say about Martinez, it's not much of a story for the Giants because he hasn't been a Giant this year, and he really wasn't a Giant last year. He only played 3 games.
Yeah.
But I think my only take, well, first off, good luck to Blake. Blake always seemed like a really good guy, was super active on social media, always seemed to, have a great relationship with the fans and was a good player in the locker room, obviously a former captain for the Giants. So I got no ill will towards him, and I thought he played really well for the Giants his first year here in 2020. It looked to be at the time one of Gettleman's better free agent signings, him and Bradbury. But obviously things went south year 2 because of the injury. But my takeaway from it overall is this kind of just cement Holmes why the New York Giants didn't bring him back before the year started. For all the New York Giants fans that were screaming about it, well, now you see he's retiring. So he's clearly not the same player he probably was before the injury. So this is why the New York Giants ultimately, they probably saw this in practice, moved off of Blake Martinez. So that's my only takeaway from it. But I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like Ryan Connolly. Like when the Giants released him, there was so much outrage and all that. But like they see what's going on in practice, and Blake was now in his late 20s, coming off the ACL, and he may not have been the same guy. And it is what it is. The Giants wanted to go in a younger direction, obviously, and having guys like Micah McFadden, Darian Beavers was still healthy when that happened. So, yeah, I don't really blame the Giants for what they did. And it does suck that Blake kind of went out this way. You kind of hope every athlete gets to go out on top. But at least he did get to, finish his career playing on his own terms. That's the good news. He leaves the game healthy for all we know. So he definitely was a great Giant in 2020, though. It's like, you wish that it kind of lasted longer. The ACL injury, it sucked. And then, this past year was just cut. So it was kind of short lived, but the guy did have a good Giants career in 2020. So definitely thank him for that.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about this Houston game, because a lot of Giants fans have come out to me and said on Twitter that this is the game that they want to see this Giants team finally put the pedal to the metal and blow a team out, have a convincing win. I don't think
like the Nets versus the Knicks the other night.
Yeah, we lost by like 30 points. Thank God I missed that game. I was working late, but I'm glad. I was actually going to stream it. I was tired. I went to bed when I got home, but I'm glad that I missed that one. They lost by like 30 points, but congratulations to your Nets.
Thank you.
But no, like I've seen a lot of Giants fans say, like, this is the game I expect a blowout. We're 6.5-point favorites. I don't think we're blowing them out. But that's not really a slight on the Giants. I think it's our style of play. I don't think the New York Giants play like Mike. When's the last time you saw the New York Giants have a 5-wide set? The New York Giants don't believe in their offensive line. Let's be honest with ourselves. That's why they run a lot of 12 personnel. It's why they have a lot of 2 tight end sets for max protection to help out the right tackle, right? Evan Neal's not even playing in this game. Yeah. So I just don't feel like the New York Giants play a brand of football where they're going to be able to blow out anybody. But they also play a brand of football where, as long as they don't fumble the ball twice on punts, they're not going to get blown out. They're going to remain in these football games. But I don't expect this game to be any different than a lot of the other games this year. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be competitive. In the end, I expect the Giants to win, but don't go into this game expecting a 20-point win. I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, as a sports fan, my favorite wins are the stress-free, your team dominates the other team type wins, and it's just like you don't have to worry about it, and it's just fun. The Giants, they're not really built like that, obviously. And I don't think they're coming into this game saying, hey, we got to beat the Texans by multiple touchdowns. Like the Giants coaching staff and the players just want to come out here with a win. And there's a chance they win by 2 or more touchdowns. The Texans are not that good of a team, but there's also a good chance the Texans put up a decent fight here and give the Giants a run. And I do think the Giants will win this game as long as they don't beat themselves, which, hopefully it doesn't happen 2 games in a row. But this feels more like the Giants win by 4, 5, 3, something like that. So it is what it is. They'll still be 7-2 if that happens. But if I
there's
can
no style points, Mike.
Yeah, if I can sign up for a 35-3 win, I'm taking that every time. But I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's going to be another game where you're going to be gasping for life at the end of the game. It's going to come down to the final 5 or 6 minutes. But in the end, I think we'll win. I think and I hope not, like you said. And if there is a game where I think the Giants are going to blow somebody out this year, I think this will be the one. Coming off the bye, you're going up against a weaker opponent. So it's possible. But I think if they're going to blow anybody out, it's going to require Houston to probably turn the ball over 3 or 4 times. I just don't feel like we play the brand of football where we're going to blow anybody out. So we'll see. But I think the Giants will stay committed to the ground game. Maybe use Jones's legs a bit as well between him and Saquon. I'm looking forward to it. But I think we'll get the win. And that's the most important thing. And if we're going to the playoffs, Mike, which I think we are, but I think there's a must-win game. And I think the Detroit game is as well. I think these first 2 games, the Giants have to win.
I would. This one's a must-win. I don't know about Detroit. I don't know if I'm ready to say that, but like they should win it, right? I mean, I just don't want to call it a must-win. But they
maybe must is the wrong word.
Yeah, but they can't. I don't want to say they can't afford to lose this game because you're still 6-3. But like this is one I feel like you kind of should be getting a win. You're off the bye, and I trust this Giants coaching staff a lot as compared to previous years. They have 2 weeks to prepare for the Houston Texans. Like, they should be very well prepared for this game. I know losing McKinney sucks. You don't have Evan Neal, guys like that, but still, this is a game the Giants should win, and I do think they'll get it done. But if they did lose this one, it would be
that one would hurt.
Terrible feeling. Yeah, it would.
That one would hurt. Like the Seattle game, obviously in the moment it hurt, but it doesn't. In retrospect, it doesn't really hurt. They're playing well. They played well after they beat us too. They beat up on Arizona as well. So Seattle, as much as I didn't want to really face it because I didn't like them coming into the year, Seattle's a good football team. Like they're a good football team. So that loss doesn't really hurt me. The Dallas game didn't really hurt me. We got outplayed in that game. We lose to a team like this with an extra week to prepare, that would hurt. This is a game we're supposed to win. And that kind of scares me a bit. We're a 6.5-point favorite. We're not used to that. Dameon Pierce. What do you think about this kid?
He's like a mini Marshawn Lynch in a way. He's just, that guy is so tough to bring down. He's such a tough runner. Not much of a receiver from what I've seen so far, but just one of those guys that just breaks tackles with ease. It's like he had that run versus the Jaguars. If you didn't see that, go watch it. It was like a 35-yard run. The guy should have been tackled like 5 or 6 times. And he was like this close from scoring a touchdown too. It was one of the best runs I've seen in a while. So yeah, he's one of those guys that was like, what, a 4th round, 5th round rookie, came out of nowhere. And I don't want to say he's one of the best running backs in football, but he's playing like he's creeping up there. He's getting to like the top 10 area. So he looks really good.
Yeah, that's my biggest worry coming into this game. Obviously, I don't know if Cooks is going to play. I haven't heard an update on that. Obviously, he didn't play last week.
It's a weird situation.
He's not happy that he wasn't traded out of there. He's obviously a weapon you got to worry about. But Pierce is the guy I worry about the most. And we all know that our run defense has not been the best this year. I thought we actually did a decent job last week against Walker, but I think everybody in the chat, that's kind of been our Achilles heel on defense this year. So I worry about that in this game for sure in terms of Pierce because he's run the ball well. He's a physical runner. We know that our linebacking core is not the best in terms of holding up against the run. So it'll be interesting, especially without McKinney out. How do you think? Okay, let me ask you this. Do you think the fact that McKinney's out, I just want to read Mike's real quick and then we'll get into this. Mike, man, thank you very much, man. Knox's Odell video, man. Yeah, I watched that. Did you get a chance to watch that?
I believe so. Is that the one Odell responded to?
Yeah, the one that Odell responded to.
I saw that.
That was great. I mean, that guy makes, I don't know if you've ever gotten a chance to watch his channel before. He makes a lot of videos like that, like hype up videos. Mm-hmm. He does a great job. But yeah, it was only about 40 seconds long, but it was really good.
Yeah. Got Odell's attention, right? That's awesome. That was really cool.
Yeah. But how do you think we alter who we are as a defense with McKinney out? Or do you think it's just a seamless transition and Julian Love is asked to do exactly what McKinney was doing?
That's a really good question. I do think it gets altered in a way. And I don't know, because Don Martindale's been around for so long, I feel like he just kind of does what he does. But he's their best center fielder, if you want to put it that way. Just a guy that can like read a quarterback's eyes and make a play on a ball. That's what Xavier McKinney has been really good at. Of course, in the box, he's good as well. But with that gone, I just don't think Julian Love's been a really nice surprise this year. He just doesn't have the same range that McKinney has. And that's not a knock on him, just McKinney's very good at it. So yeah, they may play more like maybe 2 high safety looks or something. I could see that being the case, but the Giants, their main concern may be, let's just stop Dameon Pierce. So maybe they want to make Davis Mills beat them. I think they're playing a better quarterback. Maybe they play more 2 high safeties, but the fact that it's Davis Mills and this passing offense of the Texans, which is not that good, they may still put more guys in the box because the focal point should be to stop Dameon Pierce and don't let that guy beat you and try to make the passing game of the Texans beat you. So if it was a different matchup, I would say maybe they play different, but I do think they'll just have Love for this particular game. Going forward, we'll see. But for this game, I think Love will kind of just play that McKinney role, and then they'll play the, Dane Belton or something in the box more and just try to stop Dameon Pierce and just don't let him beat you.
Yeah, I think for this game, you're probably right. But going forward, even against Detroit, because you're not going to be able to replace McKinney. You're not with one person. I think that they may have to make some alterations to what they would have done on the defensive side of the ball. And that's not to discount Julian Love. Julian Love has been great this year. And I think he's coming back from all accounts. There were rumors that the New York Giants were already talking to him about potentially doing a contract extension from within season. Did you get a chance to see that interview, by the way, where Shane specifically mentioned players on the team? He mentioned Julian Love. He mentioned Daniel Jones. He mentioned Saquon Barkley. He mentioned McKinney. He mentioned Andrew Thomas. and he mentioned one other guy. I can't remember.
Lawrence, maybe?
Yeah, Dexter Lawrence. That was it.
Yeah.
So that was pretty telling.
Yeah.
That was pretty telling.
Yeah, they have a good young core for the most part, this team, which is very exciting. I think their recent draft class is still looking pretty good. Obviously Evan Neal getting hurt sucks, and we didn't really see Cordell Flott the past month or so, but there's a lot of promise here. So I did watch most of Shane's interviews. I think I listened to the WFAN one, the Giants one.
I think that's the one I'm referring to.
Yeah. So yeah, anytime you see like players called out like that in a good way, it makes you feel good. I think Barkley in particular, I think Saquon has a good chance of staying here next year based on the comments that Shane made. It was kind of just like he has talked to Saquon before, and they're both in on the idea of Saquon coming back. They do have to agree on a price. That's obviously how it's going to come down, but we do know that Shane wants Saquon back and Saquon wants to be with the Giants. It just depends if they can meet in the middle, but he definitely pointed out Saquon a few times in those interviews.
Yeah, and in the end, what do you think happens with Saquon? Let's just say he stays healthy this year. Let's say he plays the full 17-game schedule, or he misses a game maybe, but relatively healthy. How do you think that whole thing plays out?
I don't want to say it gets messy because I think Saquon's a great dude, but I think I think Saquon's going to have an asking price, and I think Joe Shane's not going to want to go to that because of how he feels about running backs probably and the positional value stuff. I think it'll ultimately lead to Saquon getting franchise tagged. But I do think they eventually, before the season next year, come to a long-term agreement. So I think franchise tag first, then long-term agreement. Not like saying 5-year long-term, but maybe a 3 or 4 year deal.
That's exactly what I think happens.
Yeah, right. I think that's the same thing. Yeah,
it's exactly what I think happens. That's initially, a lot of people don't realize that they think the franchise tag, the purpose for it was to be able to just keep players on 1-year deals. No, the main purpose for the franchise tag is so that you can lock your player up so they don't hit the open market, and then you have an exclusive right to negotiate with the player. You saw the Tennessee Titans do that with Derrick Henry. They initially tagged him, then they gave him a 4-year extension before the year started.
Yeah.
We've seen this happen a lot with running backs. It happened with Zeke too. So I agree. I think ultimately that's what's going to happen, because I doubt they're going to come to a full agreement before the start of free agency, and the Giants aren't going to want him to hit the open market. So I think they'll tag him, and then I think they'll work out probably a 4-year deal, 3-year commitment. That's kind of where my head's at. I know a lot of Giants fans want it to be a 2-year commitment, a 3-year deal. I think they're going to have to go the extra mile. I think it's going to have to be a 4-year deal, 3-year commitment. But regardless, if he plays out the rest of the year, I think Saquon's coming back. The only question is the contract.
Exactly. I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Desmond, he says the Texans lost to the Eagles by 12. Don't underestimate the Texans. We got to be, well, weren't they ahead in the first half on the Eagles? They got off to a good start against the Eagles.
It was at least like 17-17. They were tied at one point. Yeah.
And they've played. I mean, I'm not taking them for granted. I definitely think we're going to be able to move the ball on them. I think we're going to be able to run the football against them. Hell, Tennessee ran for over 300 yards against them just 2 weeks ago. The Eagles ran really well against them as well. I think $170. They're surrendering over 180 yards a game on the ground, which is the worst in football, and it's the worst by a mile. Second is Detroit, who we play next week, and they're like at 145. Like, it's a huge discrepancy. So I think we're going to be able to run all over them, but I'm not discounting their ability to move the ball on us either in terms of running the football. That's a weakness for ours, and we have to play fundamentally sound. I don't think the Giants are the type of team, like I said earlier, even against Houston, where they could turn the ball over a couple times and expect to win the football game. So we can't beat ourselves, but I think if we play fundamentally sound, we'll come out with the win. But I'm not taking Houston for granted at all.
Yeah, it's a simple game plan in a way offensively. It's just like, let's just run with Saquon 25 times and Daniel Jones on some design keepers, 5 to 7 times, and you win the game that way. But if the Texans like play very well offensively and the Giants are really feeling the absence of McKinney, maybe the Texans score more points than we're expecting. So that's the concern I have. But I think the Giants offense will be fine, and just how bad their run defense has been. You mentioned Derrick Henry had like 220 yards against them a couple weeks ago. We saw Thursday Night Football how good the Eagles were. So, yeah, the Giants should at least put up over 20 in this game, but it just depends how the Giants defense looks. I have no concerns really with the offense this week. It's more about how the Giants defense looks.
And to be fair, the Giants defense has shown some holes.
Yeah.
They have shown some holes in recent weeks. So I think
Kenyon Drake blew them up, right? And Kenneth Walker and somebody else recently at running back. But
yeah. So we got to do a better job in terms of defending against the run and hoping to, make Mills beat us. But even, against the Jaguars, the defense wasn't good. We were opportunistic.
Yeah.
We created a fumble
yeah.
on the wing.
ETN went off against
Yeah,
them too.
ETN. Yeah.
Yep.
ATG, man. Thank you very much. Tana, what are your thoughts on weed?
Oh.
That you don't get that super chat every day. What's my
No.
thoughts on weed? I don't smoke it. Yeah, I have no issues about it being legal. If that's what your question is, listen, at the end of the day, if beer's legal, I see no problem with why weed shouldn't be legal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
That's been my opinion on that for a very long time. There's more deaths that are created from over drinking than smoking a couple of joints. So, I don't partake in it, but yeah. There you go. So there's an off the beat question. Mike, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it myself. So, sometimes if like in high school or late high school, friends had it, they would peer pressure me. But like, that was about it. I never really, I don't know. I don't get involved with that stuff. If you want to do it, go ahead. I really don't care. I don't think it really, it's not as bad as alcohol, as you said. So that kind of makes no sense how you can drink, but you can't smoke in some places. I don't know, but I'm gonna stay out of that.
At least there's like some beneficial factors to weed, right? Like medical marijuana and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Like beer is not gonna. There's nothing positive to beer other than it just gets you drunk. But so that was always my thought on it. But that was an off the beat question. I always like sometimes getting stuff like that. Chill Daddy says nerds don't smoke weed. I guess I'm a nerd then.
Hey, there we go. I'll take it.
But let's see. Prestige says perhaps not, but the Chargers are a better team than you. Do they have a better record? Oh, he's talking to somebody in the chat. See, that's why I don't like pulling up random chats because sometimes they're out of context. But yeah, the Chargers are a better team than us. I'm not gonna, at least in terms of talent, they're clearly a better team than us. Not in terms of record, but yeah, they're certainly a better team than us.
They've been disappointing though, from I think what the expectations were in the offseason. Losing J.C. Jackson.
Yeah, Super Bowl expectations going into the year. Are you a little bit down on Herbert?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit. Not for his long term, obviously, but like I just think for this year, it's been a bit disappointing. I think we're seeing how much Keenan Allen matters to that offense. And like Mike Williams is weird. Mike Williams will have one game of 3 catches, 21 yards, and the next week it'll be like 8 catches for 140 yards.
He's hurt now, Mike Williams.
He is too, yeah. So his top receiver is like Josh Palmer, so it's not ideal. It's kind of like Daniel Jones' situation. He still has Eckler, which is nice, but yeah, I mean, Herbert obviously is going to look better when Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are healthy, but I've been a bit disappointed this year. Not working out for fantasy football, obviously, but like for Herbert's long-term view in the NFL, I'm not really concerned that much.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I still think he's ultra talented, but
yeah,
he's been a disappointment for me this year. No doubt about it. Dash, man, what's going on, man? He says, and by the way, he's a content creator. Go over there, check him out if you haven't done so. I got a chance to talk to him briefly today in a Twitter live. He says, what's good, fellas? Chris, Mike, what's going on, Dash, man? Thanks for popping in, buddy. He's in the, I think he's in the California area. He's a big Giants fan. Will DJ ever have a strong arm?
Oh, it's good enough. It's a good enough.
It's good enough. I mean, Con, I mean, you can't really, that's kind of God given. Like Pat Mahomes' arm is God given. You can't, DJ's not going to wake up one day and have Josh Allen or Pat Mahomes' arm, but that's why they're
speaking of arm. Did you see that? I know it was a couple weeks ago, but did you see that PJ Walker throw a few weeks ago? That was crazy. That was like 65 or 70 yards in the air. It was nuts and just right on the money too.
Yeah, it was a great throw, no doubt. Yeah, I did see it. Now that you mention it, yes. Is Golladay playing this week? He's definitely trending towards yes. It sounds like he is, and I think it was Duggan said that he's going to have. It looks like he's going to have a pretty large role in the offense this week, Mike.
As Golladay. He should. Yeah, I kind of like. I don't want to plant my flag on Kenny Golladay or anything like that, so don't get me wrong. But I actually think Golladay might have some solid contributions for this team, and I could be a complete fool and a jackass for saying that, but I do think the guy, when healthy, is still like decent. He's not even close to a wide receiver 1 anymore, but like I think the guy can be like a wide receiver 3 type guy and just help move the chains and things like that. Galladay's not going to be a 1,000-yard receiver ever again. It is what it is. But for this current situation, having top 3 wideouts of Slayton and Wan'Dale and Kenny Golladay, you could do a lot better, but it's also not the worst thing in the world. I just think Galladay's actually going to make some contributions to this team, and he might be kind of big for the Giants down the stretch, hopefully.
I hope so. And I'm definitely getting on board with the hope train. I call it the hope train. It's not really the hype train, it's the hope train.
Yeah.
But I'm getting on board with the hope train. It seems like New York Giants fans are all circulating and thinking that Galladay's going to have a big week. And listen, I'm going to get on board with it. I'm going to have some fun, and hopefully he does. I think we're all rooting for him, and I think he's going to get the opportunity. I'll say that. They may not throw a whole lot this week, but over the course of the second half of the season, he's going to get his opportunity to hopefully prove himself and help this team.
Yeah.
Asia, thank you for being a member for 35 months. Stand up. My sexy Tana. My mom is in the hospital. I'm sorry to hear that. Pray for me. Sorry to hear that, Asia. I hope she gets better soon. I didn't know. Sorry to hear that. I just hope listen, at the end of the day, J-Fed, that's all we care about. Just get the win. I don't care how you do it. We're at a stage in the season where we need to get as many wins as we possibly can before we get to the playoffs, and we'll worry about whoever we play when we get there. I mean, who knows who we're going to be matched up against? Who knows how that team's going to be looking? But let's just get there and give ourselves an opportunity. So I agree with you. Don't really care. Don't really care how we win. Just win.
Yeah. Might not be pretty, but you just gotta get yourself to 7-2. That's it.
I don't care. I don't care. Demir, man, what's going on, man? Thanks for popping in, man. How many passing yards will DJ get? Probably around the same he's been getting this week. We're going to run the ball. So
it's going to be like that Chicago game. I don't know. I have it actually out. He had 71 that game. It's probably going to be more than that, but I'm not expecting much at all. Maybe like 120. Like, I don't think it's going to be much at all.
I hope more than that, but I don't think it's going to be. I don't expect him to pass 200.
No.
I think we're going to focus strong on the run game, as we should going up against a team like this. So don't expect him to go out there and sling the rock all over the football field.
Yeah.
There's no reason to. If they can't stop the run, why would you? Especially with our wide receiver core. Let's see, we got
touchdowns.
Dub is a dub. Bookend says. Let's see. The Jets are not a heavyweight. I guess that's off. Talking to somebody in the chat.
It sucks for the Jets, honestly, just to talk about them for a bit, because like the rest of that team's playing so well, but their quarterback is kind of holding them back. I know Zach played better last week.
It's Mark Sanchez vibes right now.
It is, exactly. I was hoping for more. I think Zach Wilson's talented. He has great arm talent himself, but I just don't think he processes the game. Like some of those throws he made, you see the Patriots game, the interceptions he was throwing. I mean, my God, they were some of the worst I ever seen. Like a plays where you should clearly just throw the ball out of bounds. He was throwing them back inbounds for easy interceptions and quadruple coverage. It's just like, come on, like you have to be smarter than that. I think every single play Zach Wilson feels like it has to be a big play. He just has to find that middle ground of like big play and taking what the defense gives you. I think once he gets that, he'll be better, but just right now, he is just not in the right place to be a great quarterback in this league yet.
But I do think the Jets are good. I don't think it's a fluke. I think they're a good team. I think they have a lot of talent. But like you said, they're not a Super Bowl contender because of Zach Wilson. Demir, thank you, man. He says, thoughts on Kayvon? He needs to produce more. I still like Kayvon. He's a rookie. I know like people see the sack number. He's only got one sack, but I like what I've seen in spurts with Kayvon. He definitely jumps off the screen to me in terms of a guy that you could see why he was drafted as high as he was. He definitely has plus physical traits. The guy's definitely explosive. He's creating a lot of holding penalties that aren't being called. But I think he's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about him. He needs to develop more, much like OC did, right? OC was far from a finished product his first year in the NFL. He honed his game. He got better, but Kayvon's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about Kayvon, and I think he will get better over the second half of the season.
Yeah, you kind of, said this already, but like he definitely pops off the screen. Like you can tell why this guy was taken 5th overall in this draft. I mean, he has tools that other guys just don't have. And I think once he puts it together, which it's coming, I do think at some point he's going to have one of those big games, multi-sack games. And I don't know if it'll be this week because the Texans probably won't pass the ball a whole lot, but maybe it is this week. I don't know. But I just think I'm not concerned about him whatsoever. I'm actually very excited for Kayvon Thibodeaux, and I think once he reaches that ceiling, he'll be one of the top 10 edge rushers in football, maybe even higher.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Evan Neal. I'm not concerned at all with Evan Neal either.
Yeah,
I think Evan Neal is going to be just fine, and it's the same thing with Kayvon. Both those guys are, I think, really good prospects, and I think you have to trust this coaching staff and this GM to analyze these players. So far, you've seen they've done a really good job, with a lot of the guys they brought in on this team and a lot of the guys that they inherited. So with this coaching staff, and Kayvon seems like he has a great work ethic, seems to be a great guy in the locker room. I think he's going to be just fine. I'm not worried about either one of those two players.
Yep.
What is the status on Aziz, Big Moose? He can't play for 4. He was put on the IR, I think, last week, which means he's out for at least 4 weeks. So at the earliest, he could come back. I think is the Cowboys game.
Yeah, Thanksgiving, I guess.
I
Probably.
think it's Thanksgiving, that or the Eagle, and that's the earliest. That doesn't mean he's coming back. That's the earliest he is eligible to come back.
Right. Yeah.
So don't expect to see him back anytime soon.
Kind of feels like a lost year for him, unfortunately, which sucks because he had a lot of promise as a rookie. But I just hope he gets better at some. But he still could contribute. Of course, if the Giants go on to make the playoffs, I mean, he still can get healthy in time and contribute. But it sucks that he's going to miss basically over half the regular season.
Yeah. And Khan says, listen, this is all hypotheticals, and this will be a huge talking point in the offseason, and fans will be debating about it left and right. Yeah, I'm going to stamp it right now. I'm like 95% Daniel Jones is coming back in 2023.
Wow, 95.
I'm like 95%.
Okay.
95. I'm not going to go 100, but I'm like 9. And there's a lot of reasons why I feel that way. But it has as much to do with where we're going to be picking in the draft and how many teams need a quarterback, Mike, that are going to be picking ahead of us.
Yeah.
Look around the league right now, Mike, with teams that are going to be picking ahead of us. I'm going to go over the standings right now. Like, everybody needs a quarterback. Like, Pittsburgh just drafted one, but
they might need one anyway.
Houston certainly going to need one. Indianapolis certainly might need one.
Commanders.
The Raiders might need one. They might cut Carr with his contract.
Yeah.
The Washington might certainly could take one. Detroit,
Falcons.
I don't think Chicago, because Fields is playing better now. The Packers certainly could be in a position to draft a quarterback next year.
But no, they got Love. But
Love's on the last year of his rookie deal next year
already.
Yeah, it's gonna be his 4th year in the league next year.
Might be bye Rodgers at that point. I don't know.
So they may not believe in Love at this point. Who knows?
Wow.
But the Saints could certainly draft a quarterback. The Panthers could certainly draft a quarterback. The Rams are 3 well, they don't have a first-round pick until 2090. But there's so many teams that are going to be picking ahead of us that are going to need a quarterback that I just don't think we're going to be in a position to even be able to trade up to get one, because the market's going to be so high and there's going to be so many quarterback-hungry teams. And I think Jones coming back next year. I'd be very surprised if I'm not saying he's going to get a lengthy extension, but I'm at the point. I don't want to use the term very surprised yet, because I'm still leaving open a slight window, but I'm going to be surprised if Jones isn't back next year.
Yeah, I don't think the draft is really an option for the Giants at quarterback this year, assuming they go on to win more games, which, if they finish 6th and whatever it would be, then obviously they might have a higher draft pick. But assuming they do go on to make the playoffs, I don't think they'll be in a spot to really draft a quarterback. I think the only way the Giants move off of Daniel Jones is if they trade up for a not trade up like in the draft, but like trade up talent wise, and they get like a Derek Carr or something like that. Not saying that's like a whole lot better, but
but here's the thing, Mike, with Derek Carr. Is that a good move?
No, I am not a Derek Carr guy at all. I'm just that was an example.
Let's look around the league. Lamar Jackson's going to stay with Baltimore. Let's just be honest with ourselves. That's pie in the sky stuff for people.
I'll take him, but
that's not happening.
Yeah.
So let's look around the league of guys that may be available. Jimmy Garoppolo, is that like a major upgrade? I could even argue that's probably a downgrade. Stafford, with his injuries this year, who's the guy that you look at that could potentially be acquired that you say he's the guy that could make this team so much? I don't see it. So he's coming back. Danny Jones coming back.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I'm looking at these teams now. We did just bring up Jordan Love's name. Maybe if Joe Shane just happens to love him or something, maybe, but I don't think that's really going to happen. So, I don't know. Maybe Matt Ryan. No, I'm kidding. But
get the hell out of here with that. Get the hell out of here with that. His coach is starting Sam Ellinger over him.
Oh, he's done. Yeah, I feel bad he's going out like this, but yeah, it's kind of sad. That whole situation with Indy is kind of funny. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's kind of weird. The what's his name? Irsay, the owner. That was one of the worst owner interviews I've ever seen. He was like, "Yeah, I wanted a coach that had no experience." It's like, who the hell is saying these things? Like, is this a joke? And I guess it's not, because I don't know what's going on there.
Dude, I was shocked when I saw that.
I thought it was like a parody account, like, the Ball Sack Sports or something. It was
what's so funny, Mike, though? Because after they announced the Jeff Saturday thing, you start thinking about, I at least did. Maybe most people don't, but I started thinking about other sports, and would it be a similar reaction? In basketball, this happens all the time. Derek Fisher got announced to be the Knicks head coach without any coaching experience at all.
Steve Nash.
In basketball, it happens all the time. But In football, it's a different element because it's so much more responsibility. Like these coaches work around the clock. There's a lot more that goes into being an NFL head coach than being an NBA head coach or an MLB manager. So I think that's why it was so shocking that in football something like this would happen.
Yeah, definitely. It's he wasn't even like a candidate. It was so random. That's why I thought it was kind of like a meme account or something. But I don't know. And like I think their offensive coordinator is like 30 years old. It's weird. I have no idea what's going on there. But I am lucky I'm not a Colts fan right now because I would be so pissed.
Imagine if you were a member of the Colts coaching staff.
Oh, that too. Yeah. I mean, I'd be pissed as well because I'm a coach who's, doing this for a living and you just bring this guy. What was he working for ESPN or something? Like
You
you just
working for
bring
ESPN.
it's crazy. It just sends a bad message to everybody.
Yeah. When it first happened, I don't think I feel that way anymore. But when it first happened, I was like, are the Colts tanking?
I think so. I think
you
so.
think they are?
What else would it be?
The fact that they're starting Ellinger, but I don't know. You think that you don't think Saturday's going to be back after this year? You think this is just an 8-week thing and they're intentionally trying to lose and they're gonna change the coach next year and draft a quarterback?
I would think so. Because like the tanking thing, they're starting their third best quarterback on the entire roster. Nick Foles and Matt Ryan are still better than Sam Ellinger. Yeah, I don't think Jeff Saturday's there for the long haul. If he is, that'd be crazy. I guess it depends how these games go, but I'm not expecting much because that offense is awful. Their offensive line just got really bad this year, and I just don't really see how the whole Jeff Saturday thing works out. So they might have to move on.
We'll see. That to me, and I'm not rooting against the guy. I'm rooting for the guy. I hope he does well.
Except for week 17.
Except for week 17.
Loses, yeah.
But that to me is like, I'm going to have my eye on the Colts now for the rest of the year. Because that to me is a really interesting storyline to see how that plays out.
Well, they might beat the Raiders this week because that's something the Raiders would do. They're very incompetent themselves, but yeah.
And did you see what Saturday said about the Raiders last week before he got the head coaching job on Twitter? Everybody was throwing him out for it.
Yeah.
He basically said, well, I forgot his exact. He basically said the Raiders suck.
Yeah.
And this was like 4 days before he was named the Colts head coach, and now he's playing the Raiders this week.
That's funny. Pretty awkward, but funny. Let me ask you another football question about the Saints quarterback situation. What is the infatuation with Andy Dalton? Like, I literally think Taysom Hill...
Is Winston eligible to play right now?
Yeah, I think he's healthy. Winston and Taysom Hill give them a better chance to win, and they still go with Dalton.
I didn't know about Winston, that he was...
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't know that he was. I thought he was hurt.
He was in uniform on Monday night. Had the thing in his ear, this little earbud thing.
Andy Dalton sucks.
Oh, he's like, you would start him because he has command of the offense and doesn't turn the ball over. He's not doing either of those things right now. Like, he's turning the ball over like crazy, and it's like, I just don't get it. I don't know if they're trying to lose as well, but none of it makes sense.
I think there is a lot with that because there's so many teams that need quarterbacks. So there's teams like that are developing quarterbacks that like Ellinger. Come on. There's no way he's giving you the best chance to win right now. And there's no way that you feel he's the future at the position.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way. You can't convince me otherwise.
Same with the Falcons. I mean, they got to start. They got to get not rid of Mariota.
Mike, there were Giants fans on Twitter before the year started telling me that the Giants should sign Mariota and get rid of Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that probably wouldn't have worked out. We would have had a higher draft pick. I guess that's the one silver lining, but yeah, that would be pretty awful.
Every time I watch one of these primetime games now, Mike, every week, whether it's Thursday Night Football, I say it on Twitter all the time. I didn't watch last night's game because I watched it after I taped it. I watched back some of it, but every week that I watch one of these primetime games, I'm like, Daniel Jones is better than both these quarterbacks. The quarterbacks in the NFL are so bad right now.
Mm-hmm.
So bad.
Yeah.
And Mariota is awful.
He used to be competent. I don't know what happened, but some of those plays last night were just, you can't even make an excuse for him. Like, throwing the ball on your ass is not a good idea.
Sam says, remember Micah Parsons only had 4 sacks through 8 weeks, finished his rookie year with 13. Tibbs also missed 3 games. He's going to be legit. Yeah, I don't want to put statistical thresholds that he needs to hit for me to be. Listen, I just want him to continue to grow as a football player, get better. If he finishes with 3 sacks, whatever. He's a rookie. The Giants' rookie record before last year with Ojulari was 5.5 since it's been recorded. Like, if he gets 3 sacks, he gets 3 sacks. He's developing. I'm not whatever. I don't expect him to come in. And I know, like, it's inevitable that was going to be what people threw upon him because Micah Parsons last year, the year that he had, and the New York Giants had an opportunity to draft him, and he plays for the Cowboys. But I don't want to compare him to Micah Parsons. I just want Kayvon Thibodeaux to become eventually a high-end edge rusher in the NFL, and I think he will.
Yeah, it's a good example because there is a lot of time left, is what I think he's trying to say.
Yeah, I
But
understand.
yeah, I think as you said, I don't want to put stats. Really, stats are not really how I'm going to look at Kayvon's rookie year. It's just how he looks, and obviously staying healthy the rest of the year is a big thing as well. How many pressures and how many quarterback knockdowns and things like that, and how's he play against the run. And so far, I've been impressed. The sacks aren't there yet, but I do think they're coming once again.
Yeah, Kyle, man, thank you, man. I don't know yet, but soon, relatively soon, I'm planning it out. I'm hoping to be able to get some sponsors because I want to be able to have a quality show. So I'm hoping to get some sponsors. May not have them right away. May just start the channel in a month or so and go from there and kind of just go on the fly. But I'm planning on doing it. I don't know if it'll be daily as much as I want it to be right away, but that's my eventual plan and maintain the same amount of content that I do over here. So take an hour and a half out of my day, 4 or 5 days a week and do a daily show. And that's the plan. That's something that I always want to do since I started on YouTube. So we'll see, but that's the plan. Goblins, thank you for being a member for 11 months. His Belichick coaching tree isn't looking good. You think there's anything to be said? Yeah, that's always been like a main talking point said about that and the way that New England is sucking since Brady left. That's always been a major talking point about Belichick's coaching tree. I mean, technically, Dable is part of his coaching tree, right? Dable learned under Belichick, right?
Yep.
So that's looking good. But yeah, the majority of these coaches have not worked out. And I mean, some of it I think has to do with the fact that Belichick is such a great head coach that think about what Belichick was able to do with the Patriots. He got the most out of every player on that roster, which means he probably got the most out of every single coach on that roster.
Yeah.
So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that these coaches have tried to impersonate Belichick. They've tried to do exactly what Belichick did rather than learning from him and taking bits and pieces and being their own man. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah, you can't really come in and imitate Belichick when you haven't accomplished much yourself. I think we've seen that already, even with Joe Judge in some ways. So that does not rub off well on players, and that's kind of why these guys get in trouble. I think Matt Patricia was kind of the same way.
Yeah. Patricia was a disaster.
Yeah.
Giants Mafia says, do you guys think the Giants have a chance against Dallas in Turkey Day? I don't see us winning unless, there's always a chance. There's always a chance. We're going to have a chance, especially with our style of play. But do I think we're going to win? No. I think Dallas is a better football team.
What do you think? What would you say the spread would be right now if things, hold up, like, guys don't get hurt and things like that?
It's in Dallas.
Yeah. I think I would say, 7? I was going to say 5.5, but yeah, 7.
Maybe 6, 6. I'd say between 5 and 7.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah. So it could be done. We've done it a few times this year already. Week 1, I think the Green Bay game, I don't know how much we were down.
The Ravens, we were at least a 6-7 point.
Yeah. Done it a few times, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's around where it would be, about 6 or 7. We got a shot, but it's obviously I'm not picking us. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pick us in that game.
Yeah, probably.
As of now, things could change. I don't know. What if there's injuries and maybe the Giants start to look really good? But as of now, I'm definitely leaning Dallas.
Yeah, if the Giants win the next 2 weeks and they look dominant, I might just pick them because of that. But if things kind of stay the same, I think Dallas would have to be the pick. But I would give the Giants a chance at least. Dallas, they can disappoint at any time, so I'm not counting the Giants out.
Yeah, Wakanda forever. I saw that last night, Chill Daddy. Big difference is that Dable's success mostly have been from outside the Pats organization. Yeah, and I think he's his own man. Unlike Judge, he didn't try to impersonate Belichick. He learned from Belichick, and he's himself. But the one big similarity to Belichick with Dable is he doesn't care. He identifies players that he knows he could get the most out of, and that to me is very reminiscent of Belichick. So I'll say that he's not a guy that is just playing guys based off of where they drafted or just based off of their physical abilities. Mm-hmm. He's identifying guys that he feels that could fit exactly what he's looking to do. So I think he did learn that from Belichick, but overall, he's his own person.
Yeah, that's how it's always going to be too. I think people are realizing that finally, but there will never be another Bill Belichick. That's just probably how it's going to be.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And Duran, He says if KG bowls out, and thank you, Duran. He says if KG bowls out the rest of the season, he and DJ develop chemistry. Not likely. Do you keep his? That's a good question. That's actually a good question, Mike.
It is, yeah.
Because it's only $7 million in savings, and you say that you're like that's a lot, but in today's market with the wide receivers, like if Kenny Golladay, let's just play the hypothetical game, had 450 yards in the second half over the last 9 games, and had 5 touchdowns, and had a lot to do with why this team improved, you may keep him for another year rather than save the $6 or $7 million because you're just gonna have to sign another wide receiver anyway.
Right.
So it would depend on the free agency market. Yeah, if Kenny Golladay has a really good second half, could I see him coming back? Sure.
Yeah, it would suck for a $21 million cap hit, but
it's gonna be a $14 million dead cap hit if you keep him.
It
If you
could.
cut him rather.
As I'm looking at it now, I think that would make sense, assuming he has a big second half. Like, I could see it happening. I don't know if that's the right move or not. I guess it depends how good he is.
I think what Shane would have to ask himself, Mike, is, am I going to be able to get a wide receiver? And this is based off this hypothetical where he has a good second half. Am I going to be able to get a good enough wide receiver in free agency for $7 million, which would be the savings if you cut him, that is going to be able to produce what Kenny Golladay did for me in the second half?
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to for me. If he feels that's not the case, you roll with Golladay for another year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could happen. As he says, it's probably not likely, but if Golladay has a big second half, I think we could probably see him back here. Although the cap hit sucks, it's kind of not worth it because you're not saving as much money as you hope you would.
Yeah, there's a cap hit either way. You're paying him $14 million for him not to play, or you're paying him $21 million for him to play.
Yeah.
So it's a difference of the $7 million. What is that $7 million in savings going to allow you to get a better wide receiver? And if Golladay doesn't do anything in the second half, the answer is absolutely yes.
Right.
And if he does play really well, then you might think twice about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see. But that's crazy to think that, it's possible if he has a good second half, he could be back with the Giants.
Yeah.
Hi, H-Town, Texas. What's going on, man? Chris, don't be worried about us. We suck. Listen, I'm worried about everybody. I don't take anybody for granted. I'm not taking you for granted. Saquon might go for 200. Y'all will win by 20. I am not. No, do not say that. Do not put that into the air. This is going to be a tough game, just like every week. I'm not taking your Houston Texans for granted. The Giants have to come out and play disciplined football, and we could get the win.
I'm with this guy. Giants win by 20. I'll take it.
I mean, I want it to be the case, but I'm not putting that into the air. I'm not coming out with those expectations.
Yeah, like people always say, "Oh, the Giants can't take them lightly." The Giants can't take anybody lightly. You really can't take anybody lightly in the NFL in general. So I hate when people say that, but I think the Giants, they could win by 20. It's not impossible, but as we said earlier, like the Giants aren't built for that right now. So I'm not expecting it, but I guess it could happen.
It could. Yeah. If Houston turns it over 3 times, it could.
Yeah.
Lancey, thank you very much. Giants have to finish. Of course. Here's my take, Mike. I think the Giants, more than when I look, and this is just me guessing, and don't take my word for it. I thought they were going to start 3-5. They're 6-2. So, but I if I'm guessing right now, their final game, I think we're going to finish 10-7, which means I think they're going to go 4-5 over the last 9 games based off their schedule. But in that 9-game stretch, I think we're going to be a better team than we were in the first half, as crazy as that may sound. I think we're going to be a better team over the last 9 games than we were over the first 8. And the simple explanation is we're going to grow more in both the offense and the defense. 2 new schemes in the second half off the bye. But we may have a worse record in the second half, but still be a better football team.
Yeah, I know, like when you say that, it makes no sense, but I totally get what you're saying, and I actually agree with that because, we said this earlier. They're going to be probably a better team. Before the season even started, we said they're going to be a better team in the second half, just, playing-wise, because they're going to be more acclimated to the systems and all that. And obviously, being a first-year head coach for Brian Daboll, it's going to help this team a lot. So it may not translate to wins all the time, but I do think the Giants will play a better brand of football in the second half than they did in the first half. Although the 6-2 record may look better, the Giants, I think, will be a better team by week 18 than they are right now in week number 9. So
yeah, and you could probably say that for a lot of teams around the
league. Pretty much.
But I definitely think we'll be a better team in the second half than we were in the first. We just may not pull out as many close games.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to win games in the method in which we have in the first half as consistently as we've done it.
Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Jacob says we have set ourselves up to be okay with 500 football for the rest of the season. If that occurs, we are playoff 9-8. I think we're Mike. Let me pull up the standings right now. Let me pull up the standings right now.
Oh, the NFC sucks, so you know.
The NFC is garbage. Let me pull up the exact playoff standings. Let's get rid of this real quick. Share screen. So this is the NFL standings right now in the NFC. And all we care about, if we're just talking about playoffs, we're talking about the 8 seed, right? So right now, Washington as the 8 seed is 4-5. Tampa's right now, I guess, the division leader at 4-5, so they're in. But Washington is the last team out of 4-5. Then you have Atlanta at 4-6. Then you have the Rams at 3-5. So, like, for Washington to get to 9-8, they'd have to go 5-3. And you look at their remaining schedule. I know they play us twice.
Yeah,
They've got the Eagles. That's probably a loss. So that's one of the 3 losses. That's in Philadelphia. At Houston's probably a win. Atlanta's probably a win. At San Francisco, probably a loss. Cowboy. Like, it's going to be tough for them to get to 5-3, Mike.
Yeah, and that's Cleveland with Deshaun Watson probably too. So
And they got 2 against us. You can't expect they're going to sweep us. So I think 9-8 is going to get us in the playoffs.
I agree. Yeah.
I'm not saying we're going to go 9-8, but I think 9-8 gets us in the playoffs. Let's see what we got. Robert says, do you think there will be a team who looks worse in the second half than they did in the first half?
The Colts.
Plenty of teams. The Colts for one, yeah, but the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles are going. They're going to look as dominant in the second half as they did the first.
There was another one I was thinking. Oh, the Rams maybe they might fall apart if
I could see them falling apart. Yeah, I'm sure there's a couple of teams for Vikings maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know the schedule, but yeah, I definitely think there'll be some teams that aren't as good as they were in the first half.
Maybe Tennessee. Maybe I don't know. I don't want to say that, but
Tennessee is so hard to figure out because whenever you want to write Tennessee off,
exactly, yeah.
they just find ways to win.
Yeah,
and that speaks to Vrabel. He's a fantastic coach.
Definitely.
V-Man. He says, off topic, R.I.P. Kevin Conroy, voice of Batman. I didn't even hear about that, but R.I.P. to him. For sure, R.I.P. to him. Do you think we win a divisional game? Yes. We're not getting swept against what? Well, we're not losing all 5.
Yeah.
I hope not.
I think they'll at least split with Washington, and I think they can probably get another one between the 3 remaining with Dallas and then 2 with Philly. So
you're probably higher than me in terms of your projection for them for the rest of the year.
Let me do this real quick. So
I'll rattle off the games. Next 2 games, do you think they win both?
I'll say 1-1 to be fair.
So you think we're going to split? Okay.
Yeah.
So you got 7-4, 7-3 rather. Washington, both games, split or sweep?
I want to say sweep. I'm going to go with sweep.
You're going to go sweep. 9-3. Colts.
Probably a win.
That's 10-3. Vikings on the road.
Probably a loss.
And then the 3 games you mentioned, the 2 Eagles and the 1 Cowboy.
I think they can get one of those. I'll say 1 and 2 for those. So what's that?
You got 11-6.
Yeah.
You got 11-6. I got 10-7. You got 11-6.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with either one because either one we're going to the playoffs.
Me too.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. They're good. Malik Willis, on the other hand, talking about Tennessee, Malik Willis he's not ready. He might become good, but he's not ready right now. Like, I saw a lot of people on Twitter like picking on him. Why? Why pick on the guy? Like,
yeah, that was obvious. I knew that was coming.
Yeah, like it just goes to show you. Like, I blame some of the fans and the media that hypes these guys up, though.
Yeah.
Like you had fans saying that the Giants should draft this guy 5th overall. You had the media saying, and I respect him. I think he might be the best football channel on YouTube, or one of. And I've had him on my channel before. Brett Coleman is great. Very knowledgeable.
Yeah.
He had him going 1st or 2nd overall in his mock draft a day before the draft. So when you have people do that, it's going to create unnecessary expectations on these players. So that has something to do with it. But Willis is a project. He always was a project. It's why I didn't want to draft the guy. We weren't in a position to draft the project as he is so far away from being ready to play in the NFL in terms of being a starting quarterback. Could he develop into something? Sure. He's not ready.
Yeah, and we're seeing that now with Justin Fields, why you probably shouldn't give up on a guy too early. Like, if he has the raw tools, which I think Malik Willis does, Fields, it's taken Fields how many games? Like 16, 17, 18 games in, he's finally turned it around. So, I don't think the Titans really planned on Malik Willis playing this year. It just took the Tannehill ankle injury for that to happen. And obviously playing at KC, I think that was his 2nd career start. It's tough. So I wasn't expecting much. He made some decent throws, but definitely is not ready, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, no, definitely. He can't even read a defense yet. He's not ready. Let's see what we got. I just want the season to end already. I hate being you guys are going to get a quarterback. So you should be excited about that, I guess. You're going to get a quarterback.
True.
Yeah. He did pick the right team from Texas. Good call there by you, Justin.
Yep.
To be fair, Fields, it's the first time he's had a competent coaching too. Yeah, they're using Fields. They finally started using Fields the right way. I'm happy for him. I hope he does well. He's still in a really tough situation, but hopefully they improve it. They don't have a first round pick next year, but
yeah, they got him Claypool, so they got that. But
they got to get that line situated.
Yep.
Reports say Golladay has looked sharp in I hope. I mean, we'll go for about another 10, 15 minutes, Mike. But I hope, man, I hope that Golladay has a big impact in the second half. We're going to need it.
Yeah, he might. Yeah.
Let's see. Do you think the whole NFC East makes the playoffs? No. I don't think 4 teams. Let's do that real quick.
I think 3 teams do, but not 4.
Yeah, let's look over the standings right now. Let's pick our playoff teams and seeds. Let's do both. All right, AFC. I'm still going with the Bills win the East. I'll just do the divisions first. Bills win the East. I'm going to go with the Ravens, even though the Bengals could certainly win it. They're hot and cold, but I'm going to go with the Bills win the East. The Ravens win the North. The Titans are going to win the South, and the Chiefs are going to win the West. 3 wild cards: Chargers, Cincinnati, and the Jets. Wow, one of those teams are going to be left off. Either the Dolphins, Jets, Bengals, or Chargers. One of those teams aren't making the playoffs.
That's interesting.
Wow.
Who
do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, I think I agree with your divisions. I'm taking Buffalo. I'm taking the Ravens. I'm taking Tennessee. My 3 wild cards would be, I think Miami makes it. I just think that's going to happen. I guess Cincinnati, and then, guess you got to say the Jets, right? I mean, yeah, I'm missing one conference. I'm stupid. One division. Chargers. So Chargers and Bengals and Dolphins for me are the wild cards.
That's tough, man, because the Jets are good. That's a tough one for me. But it'll be between those 4 teams for the wild card. For the 3 wild cards. In the NFC, obviously the Eagles, I think, are going to win the division at this point, especially with their schedule. Vikings are clearly going to win the North now. I think the Bucs will win the South.
Yep.
And I think the Niners are still going to win the West.
I'm with you. Yeah.
I got the Niners winning the West. And then as the wild cards, the 3 wild cards, Seattle, the Giants, and Dallas. I think that's what you're looking at.
Yeah. Unless Green Bay somehow turns it around, but I don't think
and we have a tiebreaker against Green Bay, so we really have another game advantage on them.
Yeah, so Giants, Seahawks, and who was the last one? Giants and Cowboys. Yeah, I think that's it.
Giants, Seahawks, and Cowboys. I think those are going to be your 3 wild cards. And if I had to guess, if we get the 7 seed, I'd guess we'd play the Niners because I think they're going to get the 3 in the West. If we get the 6 seed, we'd probably play the Bucs. I think. Oh, no. The 7 would play the 2. So the 7 would play the Vikings if we got the 7, or the Eagles, potentially. If we got the 6, we would play I would think the Niners. And if we got the 5, we would play the
Bucs.
Yeah. That's what I think you're looking at.
It's a tough game regardless, especially being on the road. So I don't know.
Who would you prefer out of those teams? Like right now, and obviously in 9 weeks, things could change. Who would you prefer?
Niners, Bucs, and who was the last one? Minnesota?
Niners, Bucs, Minnesota, or the Eagles?
Niners, Bucs, Minnesota. I think I would take the Vikings because Kirk Cousins and his, history of not winning big games, rookie head coach as well. I think their offensive line's beatable, assuming Azeez Ojulari comes back. So yeah, I would probably take the Vikings.
I think I'd take the Bucs.
I don't blame you for that either.
And I know the whole Brady thing, and I get it, and he's as clutch as anybody, and he's the GOAT, and I get all that, but Brady don't look like Brady, and that team just doesn't look good to me right now. So I think I'd go with the Bucs. I think we could beat the Bucs.
Yeah, I don't blame you for that. Yeah,
but Yeah, I think we'll have a shot, regardless who we play. I think we'll have a shot at least to keep the game close and competitive.
The Niners game would scare the crap out of me. I don't want to play them at all, but
Yeah, you and me think alike
yeah.
on that. I think a lot of people aren't as nearly as high as as we are on the Niners.
Yeah.
I saw somebody in the chat say they prefer the Niners. I would not.
Nah.
I think the Niners are the best team in the NFC. I don't care what their record is. I think they're the best team in the NFC.
Yeah, I think I'd still say Philly right now, but I could see in a few weeks us being like, oh, it's the Niners for sure. So yeah.
And again, I'm biased. I picked them at the start of the year, but
Yeah.
I think the Niners are really good. It's just a matter of them putting everything together. So I want no part of the Niners. I'd much rather play Seattle if they win the West. And I know Seattle's a tough place to play, but I'd much rather play them. I want nothing to do with the Niners.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Let's see what we got. Bungles fan here. What's going on? 007 Mellow. You've had a fun year. You still got a good chance to win your division. I think the Giants could still win the division for sure. They could. I mean, it'll come down to the division. Before I even think about the division, we got to win the next 2 games. If we win the next 2 games, at least we have a chance at the division.
Yeah.
But we got to beat obviously Houston and Detroit. And then, yeah, sure, if we could find a way to split with Philadelphia and win a ton of games after that, sure, we got a shot.
Yeah, I'm not counting on it. I mean, obviously, it's possible. 6-2 versus what are they, 8-0 or whatever they are. It's possible. They're still in the range, but I think Philly is, very good chance. Yeah, very good chance.
I mean, you look at Philly's schedule too. Like they got the easiest schedule in the NFL this year.
Yeah, they do.
Like it's so easy. Like Mike, look at find a loss here for me. Like excluding the divisional games. Look at these games they got coming up. Washington home. I think they're going to win. The Colts with Ellinger. The Packers, the way they look right now. Tennessee, maybe. Giants, Bears, Cowboys, Saints, and Giants. Where's the losses coming
They're
from?
not going undefeated. I feel confident saying that. But I think they're going to lose one of those 5 games in a row, whether it's the Dallas, Chicago, the Giants, Tennessee, or Green Bay. I think they lose to one of those teams, at least maybe 2. I could see it.
The most I see for them is 3 losses.
Yeah,
that's the most.
True. Yeah.
And if that's the case, we're not winning the division.
Yep.
Unless we'd have to sweep them to have a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Jonathan says, does our schedule hurt our players' evaluation? I don't think so. I think we've played some decent teams. I mean, we played Baltimore, we played Tennessee. Those are good football teams.
Yeah.
Seattle's a good football team.
Yeah, even at Jacksonville is not like a pushover anymore. Chicago's better now. Dallas is a tough,
Dallas is a good football team.
Yeah.
We played them. We played good football teams. So no, I don't think it's hurt the player evaluation at all.
No.
Silly parody, man. Thank you very much, man. Who plays you, Bad Dog, or MikeTooNice in the 2022 New York Giants Super Bowl movie? Oh, which actor would play us?
People have said I look like Tom Cruise. I don't see it, but
Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
he's my favorite actor of all time.
Oh, really?
So if that's an excuse to get Tom Cruise in the movie, I'm all for it.
We'll take it. All right, cool.
People have said I look like Nicolas Cage, so I'm going to throw him in there.
All right.
And I don't know who Bad Dog looks like, so maybe I'll allow somebody in the chat to come up with a suggestion for that. But if I get Tom Cruise in the Giants movie, I'm all about it.
You do kind of look like Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
I hear that all the time.
I could see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I get that a lot. So let's see. Mike looks like Clay Holmes, the guy in the Yankees.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Wilhelm says you look too Italian. I think Tom Cruise might be Italian. That's not his actual name. I don't know what his nationality is, but
I don't know either. Yeah.
Yeah, I've gotten Matt Harvey too in the past. Somebody said that. Actually, I had a kid ask me for Matt Harvey's autograph when I went to see Mike Piazza's Hall of Fame.
Oh my God! Did you sign it? Hopefully.
No, I didn't sign it.
Come on.
He was like a 10-year-old kid. I'm not doing that.
I would have taken such advantage of that. Oh my God.
Phillies Day says, Chris, be honest. No, I'm picking the Eagles to win the division. Stanley Tucci for Bad Dog. That's not bad. I don't know if you know who Stanley Tucci is.
I'm gonna look it up.
It's not bad. He's bold.
I saw Vin Diesel. That'd be an interesting one.
Well, he's muscular. He's bold as well. Stanley Tucci's not a bad one. He's not a bad looking guy.
Stanley Tucci. I don't really see it, but I don't know what type of style he is as an actor, so can't speak on it.
Jason Statham. That's a good one for bad
Okay.
dog.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hoping we win on Sunday as an early birthday present for my birthday on Tuesday. Well, happy birthday. It's my birthday
Happy
tomorrow,
birthday.
Russ. So happy
Hey.
birthday to you. Happy birthday to me. I just wish myself happy birthday.
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah. But no, have a happy birthday, Russ. Scorpio brother. We're going to close this out in about 5 minutes. Just hanging out with the chat. Let's see what we got. The Rock will obviously play Bad Dog. Yeah, The Rock. Yeah. That's not a bad one.
I like it.
Bad Dog's muscular, but he ain't The Rock muscular. Let's see. Hey, appreciate it. Appreciate it, Davey. Appreciate it, Karen. And Rush, man, thank you, man. I appreciate it, buddy. When was the last time the Giants swept the Eagles?
Oh. Is it even my lifetime? Like,
I think Eli did it at one point. Let me look. I'm gonna look up Giants versus Eagles history. It's been a long time though.
yeah, I'm gonna look this up too.
The last time the Giants swept the Eagles, we've actually beaten the Eagles 2 out of the last 3 times we've played them. It just didn't occur in the same season.
Yeah.
We swept. Wow.
2007.
2007, our
Yeah.
Super Bowl year. That's the last time we swept them.
Sheesh. Yeah.
2007, last time we swept. Actually, no. Nope.
Huh?
What we played the Eagles? Oh, technically, we played the Eagles 3 times in 2007 because we played them in the playoffs the year before in 2007.
Okay. Yeah.
But in the 2007 season, we swept them.
Yes.
So, yes, the 2007 regular season is the last time we swept them.
Whew. Yeah, the Giants' record against Philly since their second matchup of 2016 is really bad. They're like 2-9 or something, or just 2-10, whatever the hell it is. It's bad.
Would you like to play the Eagles in the playoffs? I'd probably prefer not to in the first round, but if we do, we do. We take our chance.
I'd play them over the Niners.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
You have familiarity there. I think I'd prefer them over the Niners as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Michael, man, thank you very much, man. I'll be at the game on Sunday. Hopefully I see you there, Mike. I'm going to be in lot L. I think it's going to be 16. I'll let you guys know for sure. But I think it's going to be L16, but I'm going to be in lot L. So hopefully I get to meet some of you guys there. If I don't, Michael, if I don't get to meet you, definitely enjoy the game. And hopefully we get to experience another win for the Giants.
Someone said A.J. Brown, if he went to the Giants, would be on the IR since game 1. I kind of agree with that.
Yeah.
Seems like something that would happen.
It's just the Giants' luck, man. It's
Yeah.
just the Giants' luck. Yeah, it's Mike. Mike always says the Giants are always getting hurt.
He's not wrong.
Am I going live? No, Bad Dog's not going to be at the game. Oh, he'll stream the game, I'm sure. Yeah, on his channel. But no, he's not going to be at the game. Sean says, you going? No, probably not. I'm just going to enjoy myself at the tailgate. No, I'll probably make a video after, and then I'll probably go live when I get home to recap the game late at night. But I'll probably make a video from the car. But no, I don't
say let's get one of those entertainer in the car videos like last.
That's what
year.
you're gonna get. You're gonna get a post if it's not too dark, because it's getting dark early now. But if the light permits, you'll be getting a car video. Well, I'll probably turn the lights on in the car if I have to, but you'll get a quick recap for the game in the car. Maybe a halftime video, depending on how the game's going, but probably not. Probably just like a post game video and then a live stream when I get home.
How about a halftime video if they're up by like 15 or more points or something?
Maybe.
All right.
Maybe. But no live streams. Let's see what we got. Chill Daddy says, going to see Wakanda Forever tomorrow. Hey, listen, are you a movie? You're not a movie. Oh, we've talked about this. You're not a movie.
No, not really.
I have the movie pass, so I pay $20 a month so I could go to like unlimited movies. So I see like every like decent movie. So I saw Wakanda last night. Yeah. My opinion differs from a lot of people because I've seen a lot of critics give it great reviews. I think it has like a 94 or 95% from people that have seen it on Rotten Tomato, and it seems like people liked it more than me. So hopefully you like it more than I did, Chill Daddy. Listen, I'm biased because I'm definitely falling off the Marvel train. I feel like Marvel has not made a great movie outside of the Spider-Man movie in a very long time. It was okay. It was worth seeing, but I never want to watch it again. That's my outtake on it. It's not worth seeing a second time for me. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. I didn't love it. But people seem to like it, so hopefully you enjoy it, Chill Daddy.
You just crushed this guy's soul. Jeez.
Hopefully you enjoy it, man. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing the Tana train. I think it's at 7:30 on her channel today. Flex Lopez, he says, do you think we could split with the Eagles, sweep or no? I think we could split. I don't think we could sweep. No.
Yeah, we could take that last game if they're resting their players, hopefully. I guess the home game is not impossible. I could see one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got a shot to win one, but I don't think we're going to sweep them.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I'll definitely watch Avatar for sure. Easy Lopez, which I still can't believe that's like the highest grossing movie of all time. Chris P says, I could see the Eagles sitting players if they don't have a chance to go undefeated. Yes, you just said that. So yes,
Yeah.
I don't think they will. I'm not going to bank on that, but it's at least a possibility if they're one seed. Best movie I've seen recently was the new Batman was good, Jackson. I agree. Chris, I'll make you some coffee. All right, Brandon. Guys, we are going to close this out. I had fun hanging out with you guys today. You guys are the best supporters on YouTube. Thank you, guys. I'm looking forward to going to the game. By the way, I should have mentioned it throughout the stream. I'm going to be on Mike's channel next week, so hopefully you guys come on by for that when we recap the game. As we get back into the swing of things, it's kind of stale right now because we haven't had anything to talk about for 2 weeks. So I'm looking forward to having like an actual game to recap and talking about the second half of the season with Mike. It's going to be so much fun. So looking forward to being on Mike's channel next week. MikeTooNice, definitely going over there. Check him out. Thank you guys for the continued support on the channel. Always love hanging out, talking sports with you guys. Mike, close it out, buddy.
Yeah, so sometime tonight I have to do my Giants and Texans preview, so check that out on my channel. But as always, it was fun talking to you guys. We had a good time, and we'll see you next week, hopefully at 7-2.
Not hopefully, because every time we've done these shows, you've said it confidently. You've said it confidently. Right. You've said at the end of the shows when we're 7-2.
I will see you guys on my channel next week when we are 100% guaranteed going 7-2.
I love it.
There you go.
You got to show. I normally am not for that, but when we've closed out these shows the last 5-6 weeks, you've said it pretty confidently. Yeah. So I like it. Right. I like it. We got to roll with that. We're going to be 7-2. It's going to be a blast talking about a 7-2 football team getting ready for the Detroit Lions. But guys, have a great rest of your day. If you're free, come on over to Patricia Trainer's channel. I'll be over there with Bad Dog. And then I'll be live tomorrow night. I think I haven't talked to Bad Dog, but I don't think the Lakers play tomorrow. So hopefully I'll be live tomorrow night with Bad Dog for the Talk of Giants show, and then I'll be going to the game on Sunday. But guys, have a great rest of your day. Be good. Have a good night, guys.
See you guys.